Lee Anderson has come out and said that Labour plans homes for Hamas if Keir Starmer wins the election. So the Express say Reform UK MP Lee Anderson has asked how long it will take for Labour to introduce a Homes for Hamas scheme should the party win power. And this comes after Tarry MP, who's a Labour MP, and he said, today in Parliament I call for the creation of a Palestinian family visa scheme. This should bring Palestinian refugees to safety in the UK through a new, safe and legal route and reunite families desperate for their loved ones to reach safety. And now in this speech, he also references Ukraine. And I say to that, the Ukrainians didn't vote for Islamist terrorists who would then therefore go on to attempt to commit genocide of the Jews. And I said Labour MP wants to bring Hamas voters over to Britain. I'm sure I'm not alone in telling him where he can shove his Hamas voting refugee, right where the sun don't shine. And Jess Phillips says she's also a Labour MP, one of the gobbiest ones of the lot, and she says any Palestinian visa scheme to the UK must include provision for children orphaned in the conflict. That's children brought up by Hamas, right? Children who have only ever known life under the Hamas regime. Jess Phillips, of course, from one of the most diverse constituencies in the country, in Birmingham, Yardley, I believe it is. Yes, I am correct. And it all suggests to me that Lee Anderson may well have a point, that they are going to say we need to do for Palestine what we did for Ukraine, Chloe.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really ridiculous comparison to make, because Ukrainians are people with a very, very similar culture to us, so it's very easy to integrate them into our country. Whereas, on the other hand, the Palestinian population has, as you pointed out, Darren, been very, very radicalized by Hamas. Does that mean that every single person that we could potentially bring from Palestine would be a terrorist? No, no, of course it doesn't. However, you really do increase the chances of having a terror attack committed, or just an increase in horrendous crimes generally, more anti-Semitism and whatnot, if you bring people who have been brought up under Hamas leadership and voted for Hamas to Britain. And as you've pointed out, Darren, in your post this week, there is a reason why countries like Egypt have many walls, sky-high borders built, is because they don't want the radicalized Palestinian population coming into their countries. We don't want them either.
Yeah, Alex, Adi says this started in the White House 3 weeks ago with David Miliband, who is Ed Miliband's brother, who lost out of the leadership challenge in 2010. And he says this started in the White House 3 weeks ago with David Miliband's non-governmental organisation Rescue, and he's part of one of these charities who is connected to every part of the West.
He runs the International Rescue Committee. Yeah. It's a big organization.
So they're all saying that this is like World Economic Forum types, the Davos elite, who are saying that we need to do our bit and take in these people.
But you know what? Frankly, if there's anyone who needs to do their job, it's the Middle Eastern countries that surround Palestine, that have put up walls,
and some of them that fund Hamas as well.
A single one of them. Absolutely. And they've refused to take a single person into their country. What does that tell you about the people there? They don't want them in their own country, and they are the most likely to assimilate in the nations next door to them. So I am zero respect for anybody on Labour or any politician or charity that says we should start taking these people in. It's our duty, until the countries next door start to take them in first. It's not our duty to be the world's home, to be the world's orphanage, unfortunately. As much as we would love to be able to have the space and the hospitals and the schools to put up every person that's suffering from war, we can't. And this country.
Well, actually, I don't. To be honest, I'm going to be totally honest. I don't think that, because I don't want. I grew up in a part of the world where being a young gay lad on a council estate in County Durham wasn't a very nice experience. I don't want to bring people over here that think that actually the appropriate thing to do with someone just because they happen to fancy other blokes is to throw them off a rooftop. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
I just don't want people like that in my country, and I don't care if that makes. Someone commented today. I'll just show you, actually. Someone commented on one of the tweets that I put out, and they said the thing about right-wing grifter scene is that you have to up the ante to stay relevant. Grimes, as in me, is heading down the Katie Hopkins route, and he's too thick to realise that it'll render him unemployable. He talks about GB New making losses and things like that. But I actually don't care at this point. You know, I think we're facing a civilizational moment. I think that we are going backwards, not progressing forwards. And I won't stand for it. So do what the hell whatever you want. Just call me whatever you want. You know, I'm at the end of my capacity to actually take any more of this crap. And it leads me on to what, and I believe it was Annette said on Facebook, and Annette said that she's seriously thinking about emigrating. She said it is Annette. She says, becoming so bad, I'm thinking of emigrating. And I keep getting like that as well. But I don't want to think like that, because then that kind of defeatist mentality says that we do nothing about it. Chloe?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I mean, one of the reasons why I speak up about this stuff and fight for Britain is because I don't want to have to leave. I'm a dual citizen. I've got family in nice sunny Florida, and that's where I will be if Britain goes to absolute shit and I have no choice but to leave. But I really don't want it to have to come to that. I want to be able to stay here. I mean, we'll really screw over our population demographic if all the working class right Brits leave the country and we're just left with all the immigrants.
Yes. What was it? The global majority? If we're just left with the global majority. It makes Britain sound like an airport, doesn't it? But I mean, Alex, where do what would your message to Annette be?
Well, look, I mean, this is the reason why people like yourself are listening to this podcast, why Chloe, Darren and I talk about this very vocally on GB News, and quite frankly, people can say you'll never get a job again or you will be unemployable, then so be it. More time for us to sit and do these podcasts and spread the message, quite frankly. And I'd happily be unemployed if it meant me having to shut my mouth to please a censor-loving lefty any day. Unemploy me. I'll get onto that child benefit cap straight away and start enjoying the privileges of not having to work as well. But you know, quite frankly, we've got to do more. We've got to do more to start talking up, because we're not doing enough, unfortunately. We've got to do more.
All right, folks. Annette just points out that she's 70 and not a youngster. So, you know, 70 years old, the things that you've seen change in this country, and many of them not for the better, you know. And actually, another user, Wild in the Woods on YouTube, points out that the so-called community, the LGBT alphabet soup, are helping them do this. You know, they're actually calling Queers for Palestine and all these other things. We are in for a world of pain, but we've got to fight through it. We've got to call this out, and I'm going to certainly continue doing that. You know, my mother brought me up with a mantra. She said, Darren, shy bairns get nowt. And that means, for those of you that don't speak Northern, or Scottish for that matter, it means shy children get nothing. And that's very true. So, you know, I'm not going to go away. Alex is not going to go away. Chloe is not going to go away. Reasoned is not going to go away. And that's why we need your support. Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk, and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.